Let me start my IGCSE English teaching basics. In fact, uh, English in IG has many faces. It could be first language, English as first language, and they call it EFL, English for as a foreign language. And there is English as a second language, which is English ESL, and this is what I'm going to talk about today. There we have two or three companies, maybe four, Cambridge, Oxford, now Pearson, and Edexcel. And these companies have like different categories, but people actually focus on Cambridge and Oxford. There is a way difference between both of them. So when we say Cambridge, Oxford, nobody thinks that it is like the same. They have the same test, they have the same everything, but only the books are different. No, there is a big difference between Cambridge and Oxford. And inshallah, if people like to know more and more about this, there will be a kind of course after Ramadan, in which you will find all these differences because plus the SAT, plus many things. So our session's title today is Cambridge IGCSE English as a second language. And as you see here, you will find codes 0510, 0511, 0993, 0991. And as you see here also, it is 2024 to 2026 syllabus introduction. And why this? Because before this year, there was like a different or an old syllabus that was totally also different in many cases regarding the test of the IG. When we say IGCSE, we are talking about a different system that starts from KG to grade 10. So English in IGCSE finishes or comes to an end in grade 10. Some people think that it should be, what about 11 and 12? Don't they study English? In fact, no. Most of the students go through the exam of the IG in grade 10. So in order to have enough time to continue the other and have enough time to study the other subjects and go through the exam of the IG in the other subjects, especially that most of them study chemistry, biology, math, and as well as English. We have many different tests and many different companies which conduct such tests. What about our target today? So let's start our presentation with a simple introduction before we speak about Cambridge. This is my academy, Lingo Palace Academy, and it is mainly for teacher training and ELT services. One of the new courses that I will add to the academy is the IGCSE English teaching, or how to teach English in IG system, and that I will attach this part not in a separate course, but it will be attached to the CELTAT course in order to enhance or make a kind of improvement, progress to the course. And the people who know me closely know that I like to make improvements all the time and change things because I believe in professional development all the time. The title of our session today, or the topic of our session today, as I said, is Cambridge IGCSE English as a second language. So our focus point will be on English as a second language. And as I said, we have English as a first language. We have Oxford in English as a second language, which is different from Cambridge, as I said, different in the framework, different in the exam components, and different in many things, even in the way you teach students and make your focus point. The first thing that I'd like you to know that in IG schools, starting from grade 9, which is grade 9 and 10, especially in the schools which um, have like the eagerness for its students to have ranks around the world, um, like my school here, actually in Jeddah. It's a very nice school. Anyway, um, they start teaching students the components of the exam from grade 9. In Egypt, it is different from Saudi Arabia somehow, because in Egypt we have something which is called a core test, which starts at grade 9, and extended test, which is in grade 10. And this extended and core actually both have no meaning now, because the tiering has been removed from Cambridge, and I will tell you what does it mean, the word tiering. Anyway, this is our focus today. What about me? Who knows me, knows all such things about me, but the people who don't know me, let me tell you about Amr Asmat. My name is Amr Ahmed Asmat, and I graduated from Faculty of Education in Shams University in 2000. Directly after I finished my main study in the university, I had the TOEFL. Then in 2013, I had IELTS. In 2016, I had CELTA, and also I had courses of teaching IELTS in the British Council, as well as in the IDP in the British Council here in Jeddah. The IDP was an online course during the Corona time. So I had the course of teaching IELTS at that time in both centers, as I said, in the British Council and the IDP as well. Recently, maybe like 2 days ago, I completed the PGCE, which is Postgraduate Certificate in Education from the University of Liverpool, John Morris in Liverpool, England. And I'm continuing my studies to be an MA researcher in the same university. As most people know, I'm the founder and the CEO of Lingo Palace Academy. I thank you, Doctor. I have founded this academy since 2018, directly before the coronavirus came, and still till now I'm struggling and challenging the word in order to make it a good academy that delivers many benefits to English language learners, as well as uh, the teachers of English language. This is my main focus, but also we deliver and present some courses for science teachers and math teachers who want to teach their subjects in American diploma. And so, inshallah, soon I will add the IG system once I have the complete understanding of this part in other subjects rather than English. I was an American diploma teacher, and I am a SAT trainer as well. Now I am an IGCSE teacher who teaches grade 9. I was a head of department, head of English department in many schools, as well as an American school principal, which lasted for like 5 years from 2011 to the end of 2014, maybe 4 years, not five. And it was a pleasure to learn all of this at this time. Let's move forward to know more and more about the courses of Lingo Palace. In fact, my main course, the course that is close to me, is IELTS exam preparation. And all the courses that you see now are courses that I present and tutor myself, not any other person. So IELTS is one of them. Speaking is another one of them. Speaking, pronunciation and speaking. in which we focus on pronunciation, grammar, vocabulary, conversation. And when I say pronunciation, I mean all the aspects of pronunciation. Also, the CILTAD, which I tutor only once a year because it takes like 3 to 4 months from me. And as I said, I will add the part of IG to this course, and maybe I will add another letter to the word Siltad, which actually was perfect to me and was out of the effect of Silta on me as a tutor. This is another course that I don't tutor, in fact, which is uh, Fundamentals of Teaching Math, Science, and IT in English, and it is presented by Dr. Haytham Safwat, who has an MA in English for specific purposes, and he is one of the best people I've ever seen, the kindest ever, and also most knowledgeable people I know. Some new courses will be added soon. One of them is General English for kids or for students. I think of adding more and more courses, but I think of also hiring some tutors in order to help me because I don't like the one-man show. You can take a screenshot of this slide. It's our contact in order to contact me in any time. Here is the cell phone, either in Saudi Arabia or in Egypt. Here is my email, my official email, or the official email of Lingua Palace, I mean. This is my Facebook account. I think most people know, or all the people here know my Facebook account, as well as my Telegram channel. This is the Telegram group of Lingua Palace Academy, not my own. Anyway, here comes the end of the first part, introduction part. Now, what about Cambridge IGCSE English as a second language? And what does it mean? 0510, 0511, 0993, 0991. I'd like everybody to know that in Cambridge, in the IGCSE system, every subject has a code or has some codes, like English here. You can see 4 codes for English. Using these codes makes it easy for every parent to actually register his son or his daughter. Thank you, Dr. Sam. Thank you so much. His son or his daughter to have the exam. So the code helps the father, the mother, to register his son or his daughter in the exam. So without this code, it is somehow difficult for the parent to book the exam or reserve a seat in the exam, because IGCSE test is exactly like is exactly like what is exactly like the SAT. Anyway, it needs you to book a seat or reserve a seat for your son or daughter before they go to the exam. So the exams are not held in the same schools if the school doesn't have an IGCSE center or exam center, exam venue, I mean. Type 0510, 0511, 0993, 0991. Is there a difference between the 4 codes? In fact, yes. So let's focus first on the exam as an exam, and I will tell you during the session what is the difference. So try to remember the codes, because the codes actually represent an inference of what do they mean. Okay. The components of 0510, 0993. Is there any difference between both of them? Yes, there is. Both of them, one is for grades and the other is for marks from 1 to 9. It's a number grade, but the other one, or the first one, 0, 5, 10, is for a grade point, A star to G. So the component of both of them is the same, and you will know what does it mean the same here. Also, plus the component or plus the component of the same, but they have difference between each other. 0, 5, 10 is or depends on a grading scale. A plus, which is the highest, G, the lowest. Or A star, I'm sorry, it's not A plus in SAT. A star in IG and G is the lowest, highest and lowest. What about 0, 9, 9, 3? 9 is the highest and 1 is the lowest number or mark grade. Type. What else is the difference? Is there any difference in the components? No. And when I say the components, I'm speaking about the 4 skills. So you have to put in mind that English as a second language doesn't have literature, doesn't have grammar, doesn't have vocab, but it focuses on the 4 skills of language, the receptive skills and the productive skills. All in all, either these codes or the other 2 codes. Okay, so the components are reading, writing, listening, and speaking. So what do we call the test if it has these 2 codes, 0, 5, 10 or 0, 9, 9, 3? Can a student register for any of them and it will be the same? Yes, but only the grading system will, or the grading table will be different. The grading table for 0, 5, 10 will be from A star to G. For 0993 or 0993, it will be from 9 to 1. Is it great? Clear? Clear. Thank you. So what do we call this test? We call this test IGCSE, English as a second language, speaking endorsement. Speaking endorsement means that the student must have or must go through the speaking test, but in the same time, the speaking grade will not be added to the total grade at the end. So in such type or in such test, the student will have the 3 papers. Paper 1, which is reading and writing. Paper 2, which is listening. And paper 3, which is speaking. But what about the grading, the marks? Paper 1, which is reading and writing, will represent 70% of the student's grade. This paper lasts for 2 hours. And it is out of 60 marks. Students here or candidates here have to respond to 6 exercises. 4 of them are for reading. And the last 2, exercise 5 and 6, and I will speak in details now about this, are for writing. So paper 1 is mainly for writing and reading. The first 2 tests are for the first 4 exercises are for reading. The last 2 exercises are for writing. This is paper 1. How many grades? 60 marks or 60 grades. How much is the portion? It's 70% of the total mark. Okay, this is paper 1. What about paper 2? Paper 2 is for listening. Great. Only listening? Yes. In the listening test, you have 5 exercises. And in this type of test, listening represents 30% of the total mark. So again, in paper 2, you have listening, and it is compulsory, and you have, as a student, to go through it, to respond to the questions in this test, and it will represent, or it represents already 30% of the total mark. So in speaking endorsement, you have 3 papers. Paper 1, compulsory, and the grade will, or the marks will be counted. It represents 70%. It is reading, writing, 6 exercises. Paper 2, it's listening, 5 exercises. Out of 40 marks, it represents 30% of the total mark. What about speaking? You said speaking endorsement. Yes. Why we say speaking endorsement? Because the marks of the speaking component actually do not contribute in the or to the overall grade of this test. So the student has to be seated for speaking, but in the same time, the grade or the mark of the speaking doesn't contribute to the overall grade or the overall mark of the whole test. So it's compulsory, and in the same time, the grade is or will not be counted. That's why we call it speaking endorsement. What is the code of the speaking endorsement? It's 0510 or 0993. It is called speaking endorsement. And any student in the IG can either register for this one or the other one that I'm going to speak about. So here we have 0510, 0993, speaking endorsement. You have 3 papers. Paper 1, reading, writing, 60%, 70% of the mark of the total grade, 60 marks, 6 exercises. Paper 2, listening, 5 exercises, 40 marks, 30% of the total grade. Speaking, part 3 or paper 3, speaking, but the marks of the speaking component do not contribute to the overall grade the candidate will receive after the test. So the candidate must take the test. The speaking test is out of 40. He must succeed and pass the test, by the way, but in the same time, the grade or the mark of the test will not be counted. That's why we call it speaking endorsement. It takes like 10 to 15 minutes. By the way, we said reading and writing, 70% for 2 hours, listening, 30% for 50 minutes, speaking is between 10 to 15 minutes, and it is separately endorsed because the mark will not be added, and the candidate take part in 3 exercises. Interview, this is exercise 1, short talk, this is exercise 2 or part 2, and discussion, which is part 3. They are so close to IELTS. So if you want to master teaching such thing, you need to have the IELTS preparation course, by the way. Let's move forward. Know the components of the other 2 codes. The other 2 codes are 0511 and 0991. 0511, 0991, the same difference between 0510 and 0993 is here also. So 0511 is different from 0991 in the grading system or the grading style. For 059, it's from A star to G. For 09, for 0511. For 0991, it is a mark or a grading system that depends on numbers, 9 to 1. So 0511, A star to G, 0991 is from 9 to 1, highest, lowest. What about the components? Are the components here exactly the same as 05, 10, 09, 93, the components are the same, but there is a kind of difference. We have different codes, means different thing. Put this in mind. When a parent registers for this one, he knows that his son or his daughter will take part in the speaking, but speaking here count 10. So there, speaking endorsement. Here, count 10 speaking, or speaking count 10. It means that the grade will not be 70-30, or the percentage like the first two codes, or the first type. No, here in the second type, speaking count 10, so speaking will participate, contribute to the overall grade. So here, instead of 70% for reading, writing, it will be 50%. But still, the exam is exactly the same. Reading and writing for paper 1, 2 hours, 6 exercises, but 50% contribution to the overall grade. Paper 2, listening, 5 exercises, 50 minutes, 40 marks. But here it will represent or contribute to the overall grade with 25%. 25% only. Why? Because speaking will take part now. Speaking count 10. It means that although speaking is between 10 to 15 minutes, it's out of 40. It depends on the 3 parts: interview, short talk, discussion, exactly the same as the first one, but here the mark count 10. The mark or the grade count 10 in the overall grade of the test. So speaking will also contribute to the overall grade with 25%, exactly like listening in paper 2. So in 05, 10, 09, 93, you have speaking endorsement, 3 papers, but one of them doesn't count 10. For 05, 11, 09, 91, we have speaking count 10, and the mark is 50, 20, 25, 25 for the 3 papers that also the student will have to be seated for. This is the difference in the component. What about the tests themselves? Either for 0510 or 0511, 0993 or 0991, you have the same framework of the test. You have reading and writing in one paper, paper 1, listening in another paper, paper 2, and speaking in the third paper, paper 3. So we write the code of the test, then you write which paper it is, P1 or P2 or P3, as an examiner for sure. So let's go the assessment model. We said before that reading and writing in paper 1 have 6 exercises. The first 4 are for reading, and the other 2 are for writing. Exercise 1, reading. It's a reading comprehension in which you answer questions like any reading comprehension. You have 6 questions out of 9 marks. I'm sorry, out of 8 marks. Okay, so this is the first question, the first exercise, and I will show you some examples now. So reading exercise 1 is a reading comprehension. You have 6 questions, a mark for the first 5 and 3 marks for the last question. So in the last question, he asks the students, or the examiner asks the students to write 3 reasons or 3 components or 3 anything, because each one of them equals what? Equals 1 mark. Okay. Okay, let's move forward. So reading comprehension, the first exercise, is out of 8. Then exercise 2 in reading, it's matching details to 4 short texts. And by the way, this technique is found in IELTS as well. We call it matching heading or matching features. You have four or five paragraphs, and these paragraphs are close to each other. How can we get authentic material? Through this school support hub, but it is classified for the teachers of IG, and also from other websites that I will tell you about at the end of this session. Okay, reading exercise 2. It's matching details to 4 short texts. These details are 9. You have to match each detail to the paragraph or the text that has a kind of inference or keyword or something that relates to this sentence. You have 9 sentences or 9 details, and you have to match each detail to the paragraph or to the text that it relates to. So you may use the same text more than once, A, B, C, D, and you will use these letters with the 9 questions. It is out of 9. Here comes exercise 3, which is note taking. And pay attention, it's not note making because you're not making notes, you take notes. You have to read a reading passage, and after reading this reading passage, you will be asked to answer 2 questions or to write notes on 2 items. One of them has 3 bullet points and the other one has 4. That's why the question is out of 7. Exercise 4, a reading comprehension and multiple choice questions. There are 6 questions, so they are out of 6. If you count them all, it's 8, 9, 7, 6. So they are about how much? 17 and 13, 30 marks. This is the first part. So the first part is out of 30. And remember, we said that all the test is out of 60 marks. So the next part, or the second part, is out of 30. Writing. We have 2 exercises. This means that each exercise is out of 15. 2 pieces of writing. The first one, or exercise 5, could be informal letter or informal email. And in such case, you have all the types of informal letters and informal emails. So, could you please provide us with the PPT and exams modules if available? Okay, I will answer all the questions at the end, and I will speak about the things that you're talking about. Again, writing exercise 5 is an email or a letter, and it's informal. We have narrative, we have descriptive, we have many types of informal email or letter, and it is out of 15. It is divided into 2, or the marking criteria is between content and language. 6 marks for content and 9 marks for language. What about exercise 6? Exercise 6 could be an article, could be a report, could be a review writing, could be an essay. And this is the new thing this year. The article is so close to the essay. And during the year, you're teaching your students such things. You're training them, you're practicing with them all the time how to write such things. You give them the guidelines, you focus on how to help your student to get the full mark. Because in Cambridge, it's available to get the full mark in writing, by the way. So some students can get 15 out of 15 if they meet the marking criteria. What is the marking criteria? As I said, 6 marks for content, 9 marks for language. And this test will last for 2 hours. Let's have some samples of paper 1. A sample is number 1, reading exercise 1. As I said before, it's a reading comprehension. So you have a reading passage and you have like 6 questions. Each question from the first 5 is out of 1 mark, but the last one is out of 3 marks, because always the examiner asks the student to write 3 details, 3 reasons, 3 components, 3 whatever. So it's out of 8. This is exercise 1. What about exercise 2? In exercise 2, you have 4 short text, 4 short paragraphs, as you see, and you have 9 questions. For each of them, it has a letter. So this is paragraph, or this is text A, this is text B, this is text C, this is text D, and each student has to read, skim and scan for answering the question. And also, they need to answer the question or to read the question as you see, and they decide which detail goes with which text. Okay, so matching, it's a matching question, but it depends on skimming and scanning as well. What about reading exercise 3? We have 4. Reading exercise 3 is note taking. Again, not making, note taking. The student needs to read the whole passage and then fill in these gaps. 4 bullet points in one of the questions and 3 bullet points in the other one. So prepare some notes for a short article about the INWIS for class geography magazine. Make short notes under each heading. Inuit way of life in the past. So they have to write 4 different sentences from the text. How the present way of life is different from the past. They have to write 3 as stated here, depending on the text, and they should be different from the other notes in order to have the 7 marks. What about exercise 4? Exercise 4 is a multiple choice question, and it has like 6 questions. Also, they read the passage, and then they move answer questions from 10 to 15, which are the 16 questions left in the reading part. After exercise 1 to 4, we move, or the student moves directly to the writing. Directly, he moves to the writing. In the writing, exercise 5, as I said, it is a kind of informal email or informal letter. Okay, so this is exercise 5. You see here, you have recently moved to a new school. Write a letter or email to your friend about your new school. In your letter, you have to cover these 3 bullet points in order to be on the track. The students and the student has to write between 120 words to 160 words, and this is the new syllabus, the syllabus of 24 to 26. And also, the student will receive 6 marks for content and 9 marks for language. So exercise 5 is out of 15. Exercise 6, also writing, but here the genre is different. It's report writing, review writing, article writing, essay writing. Any one of the 4 genres will be here, and they do not change. By the way, Cambridge is so strict in applying the framework, so no change till now. If there is a change, they inform people who work in IG through their school support hub website. So here, if you read the question, you will find it, I think, a review writing. Yes, you recently watched a series and you enjoyed watching it. you have now decided to write a review of the series for the school magazine. And these bubbles are some comments of other students. And pay attention, if there are 4 bubbles in the specimen of Cambridge, they must be 4 bubbles in all the tests. If they are 2, they will be 2. So Cambridge, as I said, or in the IG system, they are so rigid, strict. They do not change anything. They give you the specimen or the sample, and you have to stick to this sample even when you make questions for your monthly test. Okay, because students along with the year or during the year, they have like monthly tests in IG. So you have to stick to the framework of Cambridge, no change. If you're teaching Oxford syllabus, you have to stick to Oxford as it is, no change. And the marking criteria is very important here. Okay, this is paper 1. What about paper 2? Listening. In listening, we said we have 5 exercises, but they are not out of 10 for each because we have 40 marks only. So exercise 1 will be 8 short recordings. The student listens to the audio track and moves forward to answer while listening. But here there is a privilege in Cambridge for students in IG. Each audio track is repeated twice, not like IELTS. In IELTS, it's just one shot. If you gain it, it's okay. If you miss it, cry alone. But here, the student will hear the audio track or the audio of the question twice. This gives the student a kind of enough time and concentration to answer correctly. So you will find that most of the students in IG actually master the listening test. Some of them do not, because some of them do not practice listening. They think sometimes that it is so easy. And this is a problem, by the way. Anyway, in listening exercise 1, it consists of 8 short recordings for 8 questions or picture questions. The student has to choose the picture that represent or that refers to the audio track, or that answer the question in the audio track, or that is a kind of description or meets the description he heard in the audio track. So 8 short recordings with 8 picture multiple choice questions. In the new syllabus, which is different from the old one, you will find that all the questions become multiple choice questions in listening. In the past, students have a question of short note or summary writing. They listen and they summarize what they listen to. But now they don't have this question because Cambridge has a new syllabus for this year, and it will be applied in 2024 summer exam, the exam of May, June, the following one. Okay, so exercise 1 again, 8 short recordings, picture multiple choice questions. You have 8 ones, 8 marks. Then exercise 2 comes. In exercise 2, you will have 5 short recordings. 5 short recordings. And in such question, you will have multiple choice questions A, B, C, not pictures, and there are 10 questions. So these 10 questions make 10 marks. Exercise 3, a talk. Somebody is giving a lecture or speaking about his project or speaking about his job or speaking about his hobby, speaking about anything in a talk that will last for some minutes, and the student has to answer 8 multiple choice questions while listening to the talk. And also the talk will be repeated twice. So the student has a chance to listen and read the question, skim the question, underline the keywords of these questions, and after this, in the second time, he or she can answer the question easily with a kind of focus after listening twice. Exercise 4. It's 6 short recordings. We call it the speaker or the speaker's exercise. They ask you to listen to 6 people, each one alone, separate, and each one will be repeated twice, as I said at the beginning. And these 6 recordings are for 6 speakers. But here, you have to write which speaker goes with which detail. How many details will be added here? 8 details. So 6 speakers, but 8 details. This means that 2 of them will be amended or even separated, left without any speakers. So 6 speakers will have 6 details, and 2 of these details will not be chosen. Exercise 5, interview. It's a kind of interview between an interviewer and interviewee, and in such case, or in such audio, she is asking him some questions, or he is asking him some questions, and the interviewee, either a woman or a man, is answering the questions while the student is listening to answer the multiple choice questions from the 8 questions he will have. Great. All at the end lasts for 50 minutes, including 6 minutes to transfer the answers onto the marking sheet. And this is a new thing also. It's a bubble sheet that the student has to transfer the answers from the question sheet to the answer sheet and submit both to the examiner or the invigilator. Anyway, let's have a look on specimen of the listening exam, paper 2. Here I brought you the bubble sheet. This is the bubble sheet that the student has to answer. Okay. And here is exercise 1. I just brought some questions, not all of the questions. As I said, that there are 8 questions out of 8 marks. The student listens and chooses the right or the correct picture. And each picture has a question before it in order to be answered. For example, question 1 here, what does the boy decide to do on Sunday afternoon? In the audio, the student will hear what exactly this boy is going to do on Sunday afternoon. And as it is a kind of a habit for Cambridge, distraction is actually is in all of these questions. So you may be distracted easily, even if you are an adult, if you don't have the enough practice or the proper practice for the exam. Okay, what about exercise 2? Exercise 2, it's a talk. I'm sorry, it's not a talk. It's also a kind of somebody speaking, and this person is going to answer different questions. So you will hear different people speaking, and these different people will have something to say in order to answer these questions. In the past, each question has a different speaker, but in the new syllabus, each 2 questions has a different speaker. So in the past, there are 10 speakers. Now there are 5 speakers. Okay, let's move forward to exercise 3. Exercise 3 is a talk. One person is speaking, not different speakers. and this person is going to say whatever he wants, and the student has to read the instructions in order to know what this person is going to say. While he's speaking, or the speaker is in the audio track is speaking, the student has to listen carefully and answer in the same time. This is exercise 3. What about exercise 4? In exercise 4, the student has to match the details to the speakers. So you have 8 details from A to H, as you see, and only 6 speakers. And the total mark of this question is 6. Last question, exercise 5. It's an interview. 2 people are speaking. One is asking, the other one is answering. And also students have to answer all of these questions in order to finish the 40 or to complete the 40 marks and all the question. Each question is out of 1 mark. This means that the 40 marks equals 40 questions. In how many minutes? In 50 minutes approximately. 6 minutes of them are to transfer the answer or to give the student the ability to transfer his answer or her answer from the question sheet to the answer sheet. Last paper, speaking. Speaking sometimes endorsed and some other times counted. If it is endorsement, it is optional. Optional in what? In the mark. The mark will not be added, will not contribute, but compulsory in the same time. In what? The student has to be seated for this exam and succeed. This means out of 40, he must pass the 20 marks. Okay? So, how many exercises? Actually, there are 5, but 3 only counted. The first one is a kind of introduction in which the examiner states the candidate's number and name and welcome the candidate and read the script. The warm-up questions, it's a chance for both of them to get used to each other's voices. But this is not a test part. Then comes part 1, 2, and 3, the assessed parts. Part 1 is between 2 to 3 minutes. It's a kind of interview. Most of the questions are for specific and personal issues of the examiner. Like, for example, can you tell me about the village or town where you live? Yes, and after he answers, what can you do during or in your free time in your area? When he answers, do you think it's better to, or it's healthier to live in a town or in a village, and why? So these questions are personal, interview part. After the interview part comes the short talk part. It lasts for from 3 to 4 minutes. Why? Because actually the short talk part is like the cue card part in IELTS. The student has a cue card to prepare for it in 1 minute. So he has the chance or the preparing time for 1 minute to prepare for the answer of the part stated in his cue card. After this minute, you ask him to start speaking for 1 to 2 minutes. And in fact, I will tell you how to check or assess his answer. What about part 3? After part 2 is over, part 3 is a kind of discussion. It's a long discussion somehow. You, as an examiner, will conduct a discussion using questions related to the topic in part 2. And it is also like the IELTS, because exactly the speaking test in IELTS is exactly the same. Interview, short talk, and discussion. So what should I know about paper 3 speaking? The total duration of the speaking test from the beginning of the introduction to the end of part 3, because you start recording from the beginning of the introduction, from the time the student is in till the student ends his answer in part 3, should be between 10 to 15 minutes and recorded in full from the time he comes in to the time he goes out. Or you say this is the end of part 3 and the end of the test. The marks range from an overall mark of between 10 to 0 based on 4 criteria: grammar, vocabulary, development of ideas, and pronunciation. So these are the 4 criteria that you will use in order to assess students' attitude or a student's response: grammar, vocabulary, development of ideas, and pronunciation. In pronunciation, you focus on the intonation, the pronunciation of sounds and phonemes and everything. The development of ideas, especially in part 2. This is very important. The maximum mark is 40 out of 40, and it will be counted if it is 0511 or 0991. It will not be counted, but the student has to take it if the test is 0510 or 0993. What is the difference between the old syllabus and the new syllabus? In 2024, this year, 2026, Cambridge provided a new syllabus that has some changes which are different from the last or the old syllabus. Number one, tiering has been removed. As I said before, in Egypt, we have core and extended. The core is in grade 9. The extended is in grade 10. Now it's all in grade 10. So no core. What about Egypt? Still, Egypt conducts the core and extended in order to give the students the chance to go through the test as a trial, but it will not be counted. So the core now is in Egypt only. You cannot find, or you will not find this in Saudi Arabia. You will not find this in the Far East countries or even the Gulf area, only in Egypt. They ask students to have the core in order to try and have a kind of, like, it's like pre-SAT in American diploma. Paper 1, reading and writing. The summary task has been removed and replaced with multiple choice questions. So instead of writing a lot, that it becomes a multiple choice questions. Paper 2 is 100% multiple choice questions. In the past, there was note making and note taking and summary writing and so on. But now, no, it's 100% multiple choice questions. Paper 3, candidates are assessed on 3 parts: interview, short talk, and discussion. In the past, it was 4 parts. Now they are 3: interview, short talk, and discussion. And it becomes exactly like the IELTS, they said. Here are the resources that you can use to find what? To find tests, to find information about the IGCSE English as a second language, Cambridge, to find past papers, because past papers are very important, but all the past papers you will find now will follow the old syllabus, not the new syllabus at all. Why? Because, as I said, the new syllabus is applied just for this year. This is the beginning. So no past papers. Past papers come from past exams. That's why there is no past paper for the exam of 2024. That's all for today. أشوفكم إن شاء الله على خير قريبا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.